Thank you all for being with us today to help celebrate our honoree, Dr. Susan Santa Cruz. We're here to honor a woman that is a highly respected physician, an accomplished musician, and yes, she really is a rock star. A talented artist, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a caregiver, and a friend to many in this room. In the spirit of our founders at Arkansas Hospice, we frequently talk about what it means to have a hospice heart. Simply put, it means a kind, compassionate spirit and a deep, deep commitment to service to others. As with our founder, Michael O'Reilly, Dr. Susan Santa Cruz is the embodiment of these qualities. They have set the bar high for all of us. It is my pleasure to introduce our friend and honoree, Dr. Susan Santa Cruz.
When I'm in the band too, I'm always messing with the microphone all the time. So if I do it, it's just that. I'm delighted to be here, and I am so much honored today to be receiving this award. I call this Why I Can't Retire. And there is a warning. I am a crier. I will cry, without a doubt. We all have Kleenex on our table, so use them if you need to. I wanted to tell you really briefly why I got involved in hospice. And I think one of the first things that happened to me in my life was in 1978, or when I really sort of started thinking about the concepts of hospice. At that time, my father, who lived in New Mexico, found out that he had lung cancer, and it was really advanced by the time he found that out. And he was in poor health with multiple sclerosis, but he was a man of great spirit. He did not want any big treatment. He just wanted to be with his family and to be comfortable. And he had a general practitioner who listened to him and took care of him in his home, who would come every day and see him and check and make sure. Now, this was really before hospice was an entity, but I remember very well seeing my dad leaning over an ironing board while his doctor tapped his lung to draw off the fluid that was in his lungs. And I thought, this is wonderful. He's not in the hospital, he's at home. He's getting care for the symptoms that he's having. So that made a huge, big impression on me. And then the second thing was something that happened in my practice. Before hospice, I think it was around then, but this was in 1990. And I had a patient who had dementia, but also had cancer. And at that time she was on tube feedings. And her daughter asked me, what do you think about stopping the tube feedings? And we had a meeting. I set up a meeting in this patient's home. The patient had dementia to the point that she really could not participate in it. But the daughter was there, and her two late teenage, early adult age children were there. We had the daughter's attorney there to talk about the legal situation. And we had the minister, their family minister, came. And the six of us talked about this. And it was really, for those in hospice, it was an interdisciplinary group. And we had that together. And there were no preconceived ideas before we started about what was going to happen. But everybody put their input that it is a legal decision, and even was at that point to stop tube feedings. The minister gave great support, like our chaplains do now, and that was the decision that was made, that we were going to stop the tube feedings. And I made home visits every day, except on the weekends, until the patient's death. And it was hospice without hospice. So now we have a formal institution of hospice, but the ideas that have been there have been with us all along to support someone at the end of life. And it's just a marvelous, marvelous thing to do. And I've had a long dance with Arkansas Hospice that started before it was operational. Carmen Cita Poe, who was a nurse at St. Vincent's, asked me one day, do you think you'd be interested in working with hospice? So I met with Michael Orelli at Fort Roots before the program was operational, and he talked to me about being a medical director at that point. I considered it, I really did, except it wasn't a full-time job. So it would be another half-time job to do on top of my regular job. That didn't sound like such a good deal. So I said no, but he immediately said, well then, how about being on the Physician Advisory Committee? And the Physician Advisory Committee went to the Standards Committee, went to board participation, went to board chair, and then went to search committee when Neil Wyatt was hired as the first full-time medical director. I never took that job. I sort of skirted with that idea for many, many times in my association with hospice, but I never wanted to stop seeing patients. And that's what I really like doing most. So when my office kind of broke up, I had my first retirement party, really planned by Sharon Davis when I left the office. And I came to work for Arkansas Hospice part-time, half-time at first. And I loved it. And my job was really set up to make home visits. That was the first time home visits became an important part of the services offered. And I love that. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts. And though it has been a nursing-centered program, there is nothing more powerful than a physician visit. It's not fair, but it's true that when the physician goes to visit people in the home, there's a special quality to that visit. So I have worked for Arkansas Hospice and gotten a paycheck since 2009. The band, the B-flats here, have been an important part of service to Arkansas Hospice too, because I don't know how many times we've done the fair. We were thinking maybe 5, but a lot of times, and now we've played also in Russellville for their fundraiser. My second retirement party came in 2014, and that was from the central office. I had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 1 year before, and I thought, okay, it's time. It's time to stop doing this. Well, that didn't take either. So I went from part-time to part-time. And I worked some, and I could go make home visits pretty much any time I wanted to do that. Well, now I'm in part-time. I mean, I'm really working only to fill in. Last year I worked 10 days. But it's always wonderful when I go. I love it. I love the coworkers that I get to be with, and I really, really love seeing the patients. So, as a part-time position now, I'm not ready to stop. So they'll call me and say, can you work here? And like Mike, this is where I won't make it through. I look forward to Arkansas Hospice serving me too. We all have an unknown future. But I'll be there too, but not today.
I went to the office every day. Well, Ella's health began to fail, and one day she was not quite making it down the hall, and Judy and Kathy ran and got a chair and sat her down, and someone ran to get the first nurse or doctor they could find over in the home base area, and Susan came running. Susan checked out Miss Ella, gave her, little vital sign check and see how she was doing. She really wasn't doing well. So Susan suggested that maybe she needed to go to the emergency room. Well, if you knew Ella wasn't having any of that. She was stubborn, and she was all right, and she was going to be fine. Well, being the compassionate, wonderful woman that she is, Susan kneeled down next to Miss Ella so that she could look her in the eye. And she took her hand and she spoke to her face to face. And many, many doctors could have said the same words, but no one could have done it with the compassion and the kindness and the gentleness that Susan gave her. And Ella went to the emergency room. And she didn't come back to the office, but she was cared for and loved. Now, I know you know all of the professional achievements and the wonderful job that she does as a physician, but Susan is a wonderful friend. And I know many of you have experienced that, but she has been a great friend to me. She's the first one to offer comfort. She's the first one to come just to listen. She will hold your hand. She will give you her immense depth of insight. She is my dear friend. And it is my honor to present you with this hidden award. She can also belt out a Roberta Flack song like nobody I've ever heard in my life.
We want to thank you all for coming today and supporting our President's Luncheon, and most of all, our gifts of kindness. You should now have a clear picture of what a gift of kindness is and how appreciated these are by our patients and their families. And after hearing Dr. Santa Cruz, you can see the importance of Arkansas Hospice. But if you would like to ask any other questions about hospice or get any information, Judy Wooten, our CEO and president, is here, along with other staff, and they would be eager to visit with you. Finally, we appreciate your support of Arkansas Hospice and our foundation for the past 26 years. We couldn't do what we do without you. So thank you again for coming, and have a great remainder of your afternoon.